everybody. Welcome back to Conversations with Teresa. It's Monday. It's 8:30. So yes, it is time for Conversations with Teresa. I'm excited to walk with you through this evening. And if you don't mind, I'm going to let you in on something just in case you didn't know. I like to talk. And I am that person who talks to get my understanding of whatever's going on. And let me tell you, I had some stuff going on this past week. And it didn't take long for me to realize exactly what was happening. My hormones was off. They were off. That's the best way I can say it. It wasn't just off, it was off. And yet, even with that understanding that they were off, the feelings were still very, very real. And the feelings that I'm talking about are doubt, disappointment, that quiet heaviness that kind of creeps in and makes you question yourself. But last week, that heaviness, it wasn't quiet. It was, whoo, it was heavy. I literally felt like there was just weight on me. And it felt dramatic and it didn't feel subtle in any way. It was so unsettling. I felt like all of my conversations when people were saying, how are you doing? I was like, I'm feeling some stuff. But for like nothing changed in life. I love my life. I love what I get a chance to do and things like that. But man, I was heavy last week. And then I realized something super important during that time. Knowing it's hormonal doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. So today I want to talk about that space, that gap between understanding and feeling, because I know I am not the only one who's been there or who is there or who will get there. So let me talk to you about a couple of things. There's this, I don't know, I'm making up like this myth of at least that saying of at least like there's this idea that once you understand what's happening in your body, everything should feel easier. Everything should be easier. People will say things like, well, at least it's your hormones. As long as you can manage it. I'm sure that I've said that, right? Awareness is only half the battle. It might be even less than half. And yes, awareness does matter. Absolutely, is so helpful. But here's what no one really prepares you for, at least didn't prepare me for. It's understanding doesn't automatically regulate your nervous system. Understanding doesn't cancel emotions. And understanding doesn't instantly restore your confidence. You can know it's hormonal and still feel so unsure of yourself. That was me last week. You can know it's temporary and still feel the incredible weight of disappointment. And you can know you're not broken and just still feel off. It doesn't mean that you're weak. It just means that you're human. And forgive me, I'm going to talk to us, me included. It doesn't mean I'm weak. It just means that I'm human in a body that is actively changing. I never say that word, recalibration. I can't say the word today. I'm going to blame it on perimenopause. You guys know what I mean, though, right? To recalibrate. Perimenopause doesn't just affect our cycles or our sleep or our temperature. It touches how we interpret ourselves, how we hear our own inner voice, how loud doubt feels, and how heavy disappointment lands. So the knowing gives context, but it does not give immunity. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to go through it. And so that's where I found myself this past week, going through it. No matter how much I talk about it, still going through it. That is just where we are right now. Something else I want to talk about is like what hormonal shifts do to our inner world. So let's talk honestly about what fluctuating hormones do emotionally. When estrogen shifts, we talk about this all the time, it impacts our mood, our regulation, our confidence, our emotional resilience. And that means things that you could normally brush off suddenly stick. And you can't get rid of it. You can't push it away. You can't fight through. It is just there. Thoughts that would pass through quietly, they now are on blast and echoing over and over again. And here's the part that can feel so unsettling. Your thoughts might sound like truth, but they're being filtered through a temporary, altered lens. You might find yourself thinking, am I doing enough? Am I behind? Or this feels harder than it should. Nothing externally changed, but internally, your tolerance did. My tolerance did. And that's where doubt sneaks in. And it's not because we're suddenly incapable, but because your system is more sensitive, more honest, more raw. Disappointment shows up too. Not always about something specific, but about the mismatch between how you expect yourself to feel and how you actually do. That gap can be painful, especially for women who are used to being like steady, capable, and reliable. Not just for everyone else, but for ourselves. We're used to being that way. And just to add on to the feelings, for some reason, the personal doubt feels so personal. Here in midlife, it's like the midlife doubt feels different. Like earlier in life, doubt often pushed us to prove something, to hustle or to push harder or to get louder. But in this season, the doubt, it doesn't want you to perform. It wants you to listen. And that can feel so confusing because we are never taught to slow down without labeling it like as something we've done wrong or some type of failure. So when doubt shows up now, it doesn't scream. Sometimes it just whispers. And it sounds like, maybe I don't have it anymore. Maybe I should just pull back. Maybe I'm just not aligned. Maybe I'm never going to get it. And when hormones are involved, that whisper can feel absolutely convincing. But I'm learning more and more. Doubt during hormonal shifts is rarely a verdict. It's often a signal. I'm tired. Maybe I'm just depleted. Maybe I'm processing more than usual. Maybe you're shedding something that no longer fits. Despite the feeling, it does not mean to stop trusting yourself. It's more of a time to stop judging yourself. So here's where I was this past week in particular. I had to remember to give myself permission to feel without deciding. And I'll go a little bit into that. So one of the most powerful things I practiced during this time was this. I let myself feel without making decisions. I didn't force the clarity. I didn't demand, just get motivated. And I wanted to. I was tempted to, but I didn't do that. I didn't interpret every emotion as a message about my future. I reminded myself, this is information and it's not instruction. Now, with that said, I will credit some of that to my husband who let me be. And we may not always have a person in our corner, but if you do, listen to them and let them let you be. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, call me. I'll let you know. But sometimes we just need to be right there without making decisions, without rationally deciding this is our future. It's just a moment. So in other words, you don't have to fix how you're feeling immediately. You don't need to explain it away. You don't need to rush yourself back to normal. Sometimes the most supportive thing that you can do is say, I'm off right now. And that's allowed. Because when you stop fighting the feeling, it actually moves through faster. The compassion we allow ourselves regulates what control never could and never will be able to do. So if you're listening to this and you've been thinking, I know what's happening, but it still hurts, just know you are not regressing and you're not losing your edge and you're not failing at self-awareness. You are navigating a season that asks for honesty and softness and just for us to kind of get back into the groove of things. Knowing it's hormonal doesn't mean you shouldn't feel it. It means you don't have to shame yourself for it. Trust yourself enough to rest. Trust yourself enough to pause and trust yourself enough to come back when your body is ready. I'm glad you're here with me again. I'm glad you joined me for tonight. And if this resonated with you, you are not alone. This conversation isn't about pushing through. It's about staying connected to yourself and to the truth of this season. So I want to thank you guys for listening. I hope and pray that you have an amazing week. And I'm here if you ever need me. Have a great day, evening, week, life. Peace out.